The headlines today hit hard. Blood, betrayal, and absurdity all at once. A deadly attack at a Manchester synagogue exposes shocking police errors, political hypocrisy reaches new heights, and while Britain wrestles with cosmic threats from Moscow, your stolen $200 bike suddenly becomes too minor for the police to care. Welcome to modern Britain, where the headlines read like a dystopian novel and the jokes write themselves. If you're new here, I'm Andrew Meatrich. I used to work inside a state-run media outlet, saw how stories were twisted to fit the narrative, and I walked away. Now I'm independent, I speak freely, and I tell you what really matters. So hit like, subscribe, and consider becoming a supporter. That's what keeps this channel free from political strings. Let's get into it. The nightmare that shook Britain began in Manchester, at the Heaton Park Synagogue. 2 worshippers lost their lives, 3 others were injured, and the attacker, a 35-year-old British man of Syrian origin named Jihad al-Shami, was shot dead by police. But here's the real shock. At least one of the victims wasn't killed by the terrorist. They were shot by the officers themselves. Think about that. People trying to protect their community, facing down a man with what turned out to be a fake explosive device, only to be accidentally taken down by the very forces meant to protect them. The chief constable called it a tragic, unintended consequence. A Special Forces veteran, Tony Long, defended the officers, saying they acted exactly as trained. Aim for the brain to shut down any chance of detonation. That's cold logic in a moment of chaos. And it leaves us asking, who do we trust when every response risks taking more innocent lives? Starmer called it a vile act of extremism, promising safety for every Jewish family in Britain. And it sounded right, until he admitted Britain now needs constant protection for its Jewish citizens, a grim confession of how far we've fallen. Then Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood showed up, condemning the pro-Palestinian marches as dishonorable, which sounds bold until you remember she once joined those same marches herself. So is this a moral awakening or political theatre? What do you think, sincerity or survival mode? Drop a comment below, I'm curious. Meanwhile, the Middle East spilled straight into British streets. After Israel intercepted a massive flotilla headed for Gaza, yes, the one featuring activists and, of course, Greta Thunberg, global protests erupted. Greta even recorded a video saying she'd been kidnapped by Israeli forces. The irony? That video sparked sympathy and outrage all at once, and the protest here in London and Manchester quickly turned chaotic. Clashes with police, dozens detained, and calls to ban all further marches out of respect for the victims in Manchester. But as always, moral clarity is lost in the shouting. And while Britain's divided over the streets, Russia's busy playing with the skies. Dmitry Rogozin, the former head of Roscosmos, just published a map marking 23 British defense sites as potential targets. That's his direct answer to Ben Wallace's old statement about making Crimea unlivable. It's nuclear blackmail with a smirk, and it doesn't stop there. The Russian propaganda channels are now spinning fantasies about a sunken ship in the Thames loaded with explosives, ready to blow. It's madness, but it's their favorite game. Threaten, distract, repeat. And while Putin nostalgically recalls drinking coffee in pajamas with Tony Blair, yes, he actually said that, the British press is reminding us how that so-called soft diplomacy of the early 2000s turned into a strategic disaster. Back then, London spent $35 million trying to build friendly ties with Moscow. What did we get in return? Hybrid war, espionage, poisonings, and now orbital threats. Because yes, the battlefield has moved to space. According to Major General Paul Timmins, head of the UK Space Command, Russian satellites have been shadowing British military spacecraft at dangerously close distances, weekly jamming attempts, laser interference. In short, space is no longer silent. Britain only has 6 defense satellites, while Russia, China, and the US each have over 100. The general says Britain must invest heavily, fast, or risk becoming blind in the next global conflict. And that's no sci-fi, it's right now. If you're still watching, hit that like button. It tells YouTube this channel matters more than the noise. Back on Earth, the madness gets even more absurd. The leader of the Conservatives, Kemi Badenoch, wants to scrap Britain's 2008 Climate Change Act, claiming it drives up your energy bills. Her argument? Our share of global emissions is too small to matter. Experts fired back. Climate charges make up just 11% of your bill. The real culprit is the wholesale market. So, what's this really about? Economic logic or cheap politics? Should we trade climate stability for a temporary discount on gas? And then there's the crime story that feels like satire. Bicycle theft is no longer a priority. British Transport Police announced they won't investigate stolen bikes under $200 or any bike left unattended for more than 2 hours. Let that sink in. The same government urging you to go green by cycling to work now tells you that if your 199 commuter bike gets snatched, that's your problem. This new threshold policing means thieves can literally set their alarms for 1 hour 59 minutes. And guess what? It also applies to cars. Victims are calling it the silent legalization of petty crime. And they're right. The message is clear. If it's small enough, it's yours to lose. So much for safety on the streets. Meanwhile, in London, bartenders at a popular board game pub are on strike. Not over pay, but over QR codes. They say digital ordering killed their tips, their conversations, their humanity. The union calls it the rebellion of the service class. And I agree, you can't replace human warmth with an app and expect life to feel the same. Finally, a twist in faith and culture. For the first time in nearly 5 centuries, the Church of England will have a woman as Archbishop of Canterbury, Sarah Mullaly, a former NHS nurse and Bishop of London. She promises to rebuild trust after scandals and to fight anti-Semitism after Manchester. Meanwhile, Soho's legendary gay bar, GAY, is shutting down after 20 years. Rising rent, fading safety, and the sense that even London's safest spaces are fading away. And as if that wasn't enough, a new report by Global Witness revealed that TikTok's algorithm is feeding explicit content to teen accounts, even with parental controls on. 13-year-old test profiles were being served pornographic suggestions under, "You might like this." TikTok claims it's fixing it, but the watchdog says it's systemic. If your kid's on TikTok, check their feed. Seriously. So, from Manchester's tragedy to Moscow's threats, from cycling thefts to digital strikes, the message is one. Britain's losing its balance. We're over-policed when it's convenient, under-protected when it matters, and overstimulated when we should be thinking. I've been doing this for years, not because it's easy, but because someone has to. I chose truth over obedience, and I'll keep digging into the facts others avoid. If you value clarity over noise, stick around. We've got more to talk about. Subscribe and hit like, because it really helps this channel grow and reach more people who care about the truth.